The galaxy was old, older than any one world could truly understand. Stars had been born and had died long before the younger civilizations even built their first cities. Among the shining clusters of stars stretched empires, unions, and dominions that had ruled for thousands of years. But all across this vastness for centuries, only one thing had truly mattered: war. The war between the Valoran Dominion and the Kethari Union had become a way of life. Entire generations had grown up knowing nothing but conflict. From the smallest moon colonies to the richest core worlds, every family had lost someone. There was no true peace, only temporary pauses before the killing began again. The Valoran Dominion was an empire of order and fear. Their ships were sharp and dark, designed to strike terror before their weapons even fired. Their fleets were huge, their numbers uncountable. They had once believed the galaxy belonged to them alone, and when other civilizations resisted, war had followed. On the other side, the Kethari Union had risen not from strength, but from necessity. Dozens of smaller species, each weak on its own, had joined together to resist Valoran domination. The Kethari were known for building alliances and trusting cooperation, but unity was never easy. While the Dominion fought as one, the Union often argued within itself, struggling to make decisions quickly. The war between these two titans stretched for hundreds of years. Battles burned across nebulae, and planets were lost only to be retaken centuries later. Nothing truly changed. Sometimes the Dominion gained ground, sometimes the Union pushed them back, but always the war continued. For outsiders watching, it seemed endless. And among those outsiders was Earth. The forgotten world Earth had been noticed long ago by both sides. Scouts had passed through the solar system, recording the small blue planet and its single moon. But when they looked closer, they saw a species still young. Humanity had only just begun to explore its own star system. Its fleets were tiny, its weapons crude compared to the great empires. The Velarans saw Earth and dismissed it. Irrelevant, they said. Not worth a second glance. The Kethari thought the same. To them, humans were fragile newcomers, unprepared for the weight of galactic politics and war. So Earth was left alone, unclaimed, untouched, forgotten, yet humanity watched. The great powers did not know that humans were excellent observers. For centuries, Earth had listened to the faint signals that carried news of the war. Traders, smugglers, and wanderers who passed through human space sometimes spoke of the battles they had seen. Slowly, quietly, humanity built an understanding of the galaxy around them. On Earth itself, nations had united under a single council. War on their homeworld had ended long ago, and peace had allowed progress to rise faster than outsiders expected. The human fleet grew, but it was hidden. While the Dominion and the Union destroyed each other in battle after battle, Earth studied, prepared, and waited. A war without end on the world of Zeranth Prime. A Kethari general stared at the holographic map of the front lines. He was an aged warrior, his skin marked by the scars of battle, his eyes weary. The war had consumed his entire life. His father had died in the Dominion's early campaigns. His children had never seen a day without conflict. Another world lost, his aide whispered. Another fleet gone, the general sighed. We win small victories, but they are nothing. The Dominion does not tire, and we are breaking. In the Dominion's capital, a Valoran commander gave a similar report. The Union resists, but they cannot last. Soon their supply lines will fail. We will grind them down, and so it went. Neither side realized the truth. They were locked in a cycle with no escape. Whispers of humanity among the smaller races of the Union, however, whispers began to spread. They had heard of Earth, of humanity. Refugees who had once wandered near Sol told stories of strange people with clever machines and strange tactics. Humans do not fight like us, said one alien merchant, recounting an old memory. I saw them settle disputes without war. They build fast, they think faster, they are different. Some laughed at these tales. How could such a small species matter when the greatest empires of the galaxy struggled? But others listened. The idea of a new ally, one untouched by centuries of war, was tempting. Finally, when the Union's situation grew desperate, the Council made a decision. The reluctant request in a grand chamber on the Union's capital world, leaders gathered. Holograms of alien faces filled the hall. Long-snouted Dravari, scaled Vethrans, insect-like Arath, and more. Each leader spoke of their losses, their fears, their despair. We cannot fight much longer, said one. The Dominion presses harder every year. Then we must seek help, another replied. Even from outsiders. A silence followed. Everyone knew who they meant. Humans? One leader scoffed. Barely more than children. Their fleets are small, their worlds untested. Perhaps, said another. But we have no other choice. They are untouched by this war. Their strength is fresh. At worst, they may give us supplies at best. Perhaps they will fight. The council voted. The decision was narrow, but it was made. For the first time, the Union would send an invitation to Earth. Earth's answer. When the message arrived, humanity was ready. The Galactic Council expected a hesitant response, maybe a promise of food shipments or a few engineers. What they received was very different. The Human Council gathered in silence, reading the Union's request. After years of watching, they had predicted this moment would come. They want our help, said the Earth Council leader. They do not know what they are asking, replied another. No, the leader said. They have no idea. In secret, humanity had been preparing for this moment. Fleets built in the hidden shipyards of the Kuiper Belt. Weapons designed not just to match alien technology, but to surpass it. Strategies written not in the style of galactic warfare, but in the creativity and unpredictability of human thought. Humanity had waited long enough. Send our answer, the leader commanded. Tell the Union. Earth will help. But we will not come as beggars. We will come as equals. The galaxy waits. When word spread that Earth had agreed to join the war, most of the galaxy laughed. The Dominion sneered, calling it desperation. The Union's own soldiers shook their heads, doubting these humans could do anything at all. But there were a few who felt unease. A few who remembered the whispers. Do not underestimate them, an old trader warned. Humans may be small, but I have seen the fire in their eyes. They do not fight like we do. They fight to win. The galaxy did not listen. It was too blinded by centuries of its own war. But Earth listened. Earth prepared. The moment had come. Humanity would finally step onto the stage of galactic history. And nothing would ever be the same. The chamber of the Union High Council was enormous, built to remind all who entered of the strength of cooperation. Holograms of leaders from across the galaxy hovered above the floor, scaled, feathered, furred, or armored with chitin. Each represented a different world that had given everything to resist the Valoran Dominion. But that day the chamber was filled with silence and despair. General Sareth of the Cathari stood at the center. His once proud voice was rough and tired. Another fleet destroyed, another planet occupied. If this continues, the Union will not last another 5 years. A murmur of agreement spread through the council. Representative Tovarek of the Dravari clicked his narrow jaws. We are fighting a storm that never ends. The Valorans lose ships, yes, but they replace them faster than we can count. Our worlds are bleeding. Our people are breaking. Then what do you suggest? Hissed one of the Vethran delegates, his scales shimmering. Shall we surrender and beg for mercy? You know the Dominion offers none. The room filled with angry voices. Some shouted for more resistance. Others demanded retreat. None spoke of victory. At last, Councillor Naela of the Arath, an insectoid species known for their patience, raised her voice. There may be another path, one we have ignored for too long. The room quieted. You speak of them, said Sareth, narrowing his eyes. Yes, Naela replied. The humans. Doubt and debate. The very mention of Earth drew laughter from some delegates and disgust from others. The humans, one leader scoffed. They are children compared to us. Their fleets are small, their history short. What can they do that we could not? Another added, they are untested. They have never fought a true galactic war. To ask for their help is to invite disaster. Naela stood firm, and yet they are untouched by this war. While we bleed, they have watched. While we struggle, they have built. Perhaps fresh hands can do what weary ones cannot. General Sareth rubbed his temples. I have heard whispers. Traders speak of strange human machines, of tactics unlike ours. But whispers are not weapons. Do we risk the future of the Union on unproven allies? The debate raged for hours. Some argued that humans were too young, too fragile, too unknown. Others said that desperation left no choice. In the end, the vote was taken. It was close, but the decision was made. The Union would send a request to Earth. The message to Earth, the transmission was formal, filled with the pride and caution of a weary council. It explained the dire state of the war. It asked for assistance, not soldiers, but supplies, engineers, and perhaps tactical advisors. The Union did not expect more. The message traveled across light years, carried on encrypted beams until it reached the small blue planet known as Earth. On Earth, it did not come as a surprise. Earth's secret preparations in a chamber deep beneath the United Earth Council headquarters, leaders gathered around a massive screen. The Union's message played in silence, their alien voices filled with desperation. When it ended, the room was quiet. "They finally ask?" said Council Leader Aria Morgan, her eyes sharp. "It took them long enough," replied Admiral Kieran Holt, commander of Earth's hidden fleets. "We have been preparing for decades. Now the time has come." Few outside that chamber understood how far humanity had come. While the galaxy ignored Earth, the humans had studied every intercepted signal, every captured fragment of battle data. Every rumor from traders had been carefully recorded and analyzed. In the asteroid belts and the far reaches of the solar system, hidden shipyards had been built. Fleets of advanced warships, nothing like the crude designs outsiders expected, waited in silence. Weapons that bent around shields, drones with minds of their own, and systems that could cripple enemy fleets without firing a shot had all been perfected. Admiral Holt spoke again. "They expect food and engineers. They will not be ready for what we bring." Leader Morgan nodded. "Good. Let them underestimate us. It will make our arrival all the more decisive." A divided response when Earth sent its reply. The Union was surprised. The message was short. "Humanity will aid the Union. We come not as beggars, but as equals. Prepare for our arrival." Confusion spread quickly. Some Union leaders were grateful, though unsure of what aid meant. Others mocked the boldness of humans who had never fought a galactic war. In the Valoran Dominion, the news was met with scorn. "Humans?" laughed a Valoran commander, his voice echoing in the grand halls of the Dominion's capital. "A primitive species of a single world? Do they think they can turn the tide of centuries? Let them come. They will burn like all the rest," the Dominion High Lord sneered. "They are nothing. Their courage will be crushed, and their allies will see the futility of resistance." But not all were so confident. Among the spies and strategists of the Dominion, there were unease and whispers. Reports of unusual human technologies had been noted before. Strange tactics in small border skirmishes. Rumors of fleets never seen hidden in the dark. One Valoran strategist muttered, "They are an unknown, and an unknown is dangerous. Humanity rises back on Earth, the decision was final. Humanity would step onto the stage of galactic history." At the Luna Naval Yards, massive hangars opened, revealing sleek warships that gleamed under artificial lights. At hidden bases beyond Neptune, drone swarms awoke from silence, their processors alive with simulated thoughts. Across Mars, soldiers trained not in traditional lines, but in fluid, adaptive squads prepared for the chaos of galactic combat. Ordinary citizens watched with pride and fear. For years they had wondered if Earth would ever join the great struggle of the galaxy. Now the answer was clear. A child on Earth asked her father, "Will we win?" The father smiled faintly. "We will not fight to lose." The arrival. The first human fleet to leave the solar system was small by Earth's new standards, but large compared to what the Union expected. Dozens of warships slipped into faster-than-light travel, their hulls bearing no resemblance to the bulky designs of older powers. They were sharp, adaptive, filled with systems never before seen. At the Union staging world of Draxus, fleets gathered, battered and weary. When the human ships arrived, Union officers crowded the observation decks. That is their fleet?" one whispered. "I thought they had only small cruisers," said another. The ships that emerged from the void were silent, disciplined, and precise. No wasted movement, no disorder. The humans had arrived not as petitioners, but as a power ready to act. Admiral Holt stepped forward on the communication screen. His voice was calm, steady. "We are here. Where is the enemy?" Uneasy allies, the Union leaders did not know how to respond. They had expected advisors and supply ships. Instead, they saw a fleet ready for war. General Sareth, watching the newcomers, frowned. "We asked for help. What they bring is something else." Naila of the Arath, who had first suggested contacting Earth, whispered, "Perhaps that is what we need. Something else." The Union soldiers, tired and hopeless, looked at the human fleet with new eyes. For the first time in years, they felt a spark of hope. But among the Dominion spies, panic began to grow. Reports rushed back to their leaders. Humanity had not come as children, but as warriors. The calm. Before the storm, in the dark reaches of space, the next great battle loomed. Both the Dominion and the Union prepared for a clash that would decide control of 3 vital star systems. The Union waited nervously, their fleets too weak to stand for long. The Dominion prepared confidently, eager to crush their enemies once more. And the humans? The humans prepared in silence, their ships running simulations, their drones testing patterns, their commanders plotting strategies no alien mind had ever imagined. Admiral Holt stood at the bridge of his flagship, staring into the endless stars. 5 hours, he murmured. That is all we will need. The Union had waited for centuries for a miracle. Now their hopes rested on the newcomers, the humans. The alien commanders still argued among themselves. Some believed Earth's fleet would be nothing more than a symbol, a gesture to make soldiers feel less hopeless. Others feared that asking humanity for help had been a mistake. They expected fragile ships, weak weapons, and inexperience. But when the first human fleet arrived, doubts began to spread like wildfire. The ships were nothing like what anyone had expected. The human fleet revealed, from the black depths of faster-than-light travel, the humans emerged. Their ships were sleek and sharp, with hulls layered in strange materials that shimmered faintly against the stars. Instead of massive, bulky forms like Union cruisers or Dominion dreadnoughts, the human vessels looked alive, flexible, adaptive, as though designed to move with thought rather than mechanical orders. Union officers stared from their observation decks. "Are those warships?" whispered one Vethrin commander. His scaled fingers tapped nervously against the glass. "They are too small, too thin." General Sareth, the old Ketheri warrior, studied the human fleet with suspicion. "Small does not always mean weak. Watch carefully." On the Dominion side, spies transmitted their first reports back to their masters. The images they sent were confusing. The Valoran commanders laughed when they saw them. "These are the saviors of the Union?" One scoffed. "These fragile things? They will burn in minutes." But one strategist, older and quieter, frowned as he studied the design. "Do not mock too soon. Those ships are not built like ours. Something about them unsettles me." The stage of battle, the first true test, came sooner than expected. Near the Rovek system, 3 star lanes converged. Whoever controlled Rovek would hold the key to supply lines that fed half the front. The Dominion gathered a massive fleet there, over 2,000 ships. The Union had fewer than half that number. Their commanders knew they would be destroyed, but they had no choice. If Rovek fell, entire sectors would starve. Into this storm of desperation, the humans arrived. The Union commanders hesitated. They expected Earth to provide support ships to guard the flanks at most. Instead, Admiral Kieran Holt requested the center position of the battle line. "You cannot be serious," shouted one Union general over the communication channel. "That is where the fighting will be thickest." "Your fleet is too small." Holt's expression was calm. His voice was steady. "We asked for the center. Give it to us." Sareth, watching silently, gave a slow nod. "Let them have it. We will see what humans are truly made of." The enemy advances. The Dominion fleet arrived like a storm of fire. Their warships were massive, bristling with weapons, their formations flawless. At their head flew the dreadnought Iron Fang, a vessel so large it was said to blot out the stars. Valoran soldiers cheered as their fleet advanced. To them, the battle was already won. "The Union is broken," declared the Dominion commander. "This will be another easy slaughter. Crush them." The Union braced for impact. Generals gave desperate orders, trying to stretch their weak forces into a shield. But before the Dominion's first salvo could strike, the humans moved. The first salvo, Admiral Holt gave the order. "Fire!" The human fleet lit up the void. But their weapons did not behave like those of other species. Union weapons spat heavy plasma bolts, and Dominion weapons unleashed beams of destructive energy. Human weapons, however, vanished into the darkness, thin lances of light, packets of compressed force invisible until they struck. The first wave of Dominion ships shuddered. Shields collapsed instantly. Hulls ruptured like paper. Explosions ripped across their formations. What is this?" cried a Valoran officer as his screens filled with red. "Our shields do nothing." On the Union side, shock turned into awe. They pierced Valoran shields. With a single strike, whispered a commander. "That is impossible!" But it was only the beginning. Drones in the darkness as the Dominion scrambled to reorganize. Swarms of small objects spilled from the human ships. At first, the Valorans thought they were fighters. They prepared to swat them aside, but the drones moved differently. They darted and twisted with unnatural precision, never flying in predictable lines. They attacked not with heavy weapons but with surgical strikes, cutting engines, disabling weapons, slipping into weak points. Entire Dominion cruisers went dark, drifting powerless into the void. On Valoran command decks, chaos reigned. "They are inside our systems." One officer screamed, "Our targeting arrays are blind. Shut them out! Shut them out!" But the humans had already studied Dominion technology for years. Their cyber attacks cut through enemy systems like knives. Within the first hour, nearly 200 Dominion ships had been destroyed or disabled. Shock. Across the galaxy, the Union watched in disbelief. Entire fleets had fought the Dominion for centuries and never achieved such results in so little time. Yet here, in only an hour, the humans had turned the impossible into reality. General Sareth's old eyes widened. By the stars, they are rewriting the laws of war. Even Union soldiers, weary and hopeless, began to shout with joy. The sight of Dominion ships exploding filled them with energy they had not felt in decades. Across the galaxy, spies transmitted reports of the battle. On distant worlds, commanders and politicians watched in silence as humanity's first strike unfolded. The Dominion High Lord, upon hearing of the losses, slammed his clawed hand against his throne. "This is a trick. No young race can do this." But deep down, even he felt the first shadow of fear. The Dominion counters, the Valorans, were not cowards. They regrouped quickly, pulling their massive dreadnoughts into the center. Their commander snarled across the battlefield, "Crush them. Overwhelm them with firepower." Thousands of heavy cannons lit the void. Beams of deadly energy tore through space, aimed directly at the small human fleet. The Union cried out warnings, certain the humans would be annihilated. But Holt was ready. "Evasive pattern Omega," he ordered. The human ships moved in ways alien fleets never could. Instead of rigid lines, they flowed like water, splitting and weaving. Dominion beams struck nothing but empty space. Then the humans struck back, their weapons carving through the heavy armor of the dreadnoughts. On the bridge of the Iron Fang, alarm screamed. "They are inside our blind zones," shouted the gunnery officer. "Impossible," roared the commander. "No ship can maneuver like that." But the impossible was already happening. The turning of the tide by the second hour, the battle had shifted completely. Dominion fleets that once seemed unstoppable were in chaos. Their formations shattered, their ships cut down one by one. The Union, inspired by the humans, surged forward with new strength. Soldiers who had expected death now fought with hope, their voices rising in cries of victory. "Push with the humans," General Sareth commanded. "Strike where they strike." Together, the Union and the humans cut deep into the Dominion lines. Valoran soldiers, who had once mocked Earth, now whispered in fear. "They fight like demons. They know every move before we make it." What are these humans? The galaxy holds its breath far from the Rovek system. Across hundreds of worlds, news of the battle spread. For the first time in living memory, the Dominion was losing badly. And it was because of a species no one had taken seriously. On Union worlds, people poured into the streets, watching the reports with wide eyes. Children who had never seen hope before now cheered the name of humanity. On Dominion planets, panic began to spread. Citizens whispered that perhaps their empire was not invincible after all. And in the neutral worlds of the galaxy, leaders began to wonder. If the humans could defeat the Dominion so quickly, what else were they capable of? The end of the first strike, by the end of the third hour, the Rovek system was secure. Dominion survivors retreated in disorder, leaving behind wreckage and silence. The Union had expected defeat. Instead, they had victory. Admiral Holt stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the ruined enemy fleet drift. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. "This is only the beginning," he said. "The galaxy will learn today what humanity can do." General Sareth, speaking privately to his fellow leaders, whispered the truth none of them wanted to say aloud. "In 3 hours, the humans achieved what we could not in 3 centuries." If they choose, they could end this war alone. And far away in the Dominion capital, the High Lord stared at the reports with silent rage. For the first time in his life, he felt something he had never admitted possible: fear. The Rovek system had been saved, and for the first time in centuries, the Union had tasted a true victory. Yet the victory did not belong to the Union alone. It belonged to the newcomers, the humans who had turned a hopeless defense into a crushing triumph. The galaxy whispered their name now. The Union called them saviors. The Dominion called them a threat. And neutral worlds, once ignoring Earth, began to fear what these humans could truly do. But the war was not over. Rovek was only the first battle. The Dominion, furious and humiliated, was preparing to strike back. The shock waves of Rovecon, the Union capital, crowds filled the streets. Massive holoscreens replayed the images of Dominion ships exploding under human fire. For a people who had known only loss, the sight was unbelievable. Children cheered, soldiers cried, and elders whispered prayers of thanks. General Sareth stood before the council and spoke with a voice that carried the weight of history. You asked if the humans were strong enough. You doubted if they could change this war. Now you have your answer. In 3 hours they turned the tide. But not all counselors were at ease. Counselor Tavarik of the Dravari leaned forward, his narrow eyes sharp. Yes, they won. But do you not see what this means? If they can defeat the Dominion so easily, what power do they truly hold? And if one day they turn their weapons on us, what then? The chamber grew silent. The thought had already crossed many minds. Nayla of the Arath, the one who had first suggested calling on Earth, answered calmly. We asked for their help and they gave it. Without them, Rovek would be gone. Whatever the future holds, we must survive the present. For that, we need them. The council agreed, but unease lingered. The Dominion's rage in the Dominion capital. The High Lord's fury shook the great halls. He listened as commanders reported the loss of Rovek. Thousands of ships destroyed or disabled, their dreadnoughts humiliated. This is unacceptable, he roared. His clawed fist struck the table, cracking the stone. How can a young species undo centuries of war in mere hours? One strategist trembled as he spoke. My lord, the humans, they fight differently. Their weapons pierce our shields. Their drones disable our systems. Our formations mean nothing to them. Then adapt, the High Lord shouted. Send more fleets. Crush them with numbers, if nothing else. But numbers had never been enough against creativity. Humanity Moves Admiral Holt knew the Dominion would strike back, and he did not intend to wait for them. On his flagship, the Resolute Dawn, he stood before his commanders. The Dominion believes strength lies in size, he said. They build massive fleets, endless lines of ships, but their strength is also their weakness. They are slow. They depend on fixed supply lines and central commands. Cut those and the giant will fall. His plan was simple in words but daring in execution. Strike not at the fleets, but at the heart of the Dominion's war machine. The Union generals were shocked when they heard it. You cannot be serious, one protested. Those targets are deep inside Dominion territory. Even our fastest fleets would take weeks to reach them. You will be surrounded. Holt only smiled faintly. We have our own ways of traveling. The humans had revealed only a fraction of their technology at Rovek. Now they would show more. Into the fire. The second wave of human operations began with silence. No grand announcements, no rallies, just action. Their fleet slipped into deep space, vanishing from Union sensors. The first target was a Dominion shipyard orbiting the red star Nargoth. For centuries, it had produced dreadnoughts that terrorized the galaxy. Protected by heavy defenses, it had never fallen, until now. Without warning, human ships appeared at the edge of the system. Before the Dominion defenders could react, swarms of drones poured forth, disabling communication arrays. Cyber attacks ripped through their defenses, blinding their systems. Human warships cut into the shipyard's armor with precision fire. In less than 20 minutes, the greatest Dominion shipyard was gone. Reports raced across the galaxy. Whole sectors trembled. The Union Council sat in stunned silence when they heard. They crossed half the Dominion frontier without anyone noticing, whispered General Sareth, and they destroyed Nargoth in minutes. By the stars. What else are they capable of? Fear in the Dominion? The Dominion was not used to fear. For generations they had been the terror of the galaxy. But now fear spread like fire. On world after world, Dominion citizens whispered of the humans. Some claimed they could appear anywhere. Others said their weapons bent the laws of nature. Rumors grew until even the bravest soldiers felt a chill when they faced human fleets. The High Lord ordered more fleets to be raised. Entire worlds were stripped of resources to build ships. But every time the Dominion moved, the humans were already one step ahead. Supply depots vanished in flames. Command centers went silent. Communication relays collapsed. In every battle, the pattern was the same. The Dominion fought with numbers and brute force. The humans fought with precision, speed, and cunning. And every time the humans won, Union reactions. While the Dominion burned, the Union watched in awe and unease. Their fleets followed the humans, supporting where they could. But often they arrived only to see wreckage drifting in space. The humans had already struck and vanished. Union soldiers began to call the human fleets by a new name, the Black Armada. The name spread quickly, whispered with both reverence and fear. General Sareth, though proud, felt a weight in his chest. They are winning the war for us, but if they wished, they could conquer us just as easily. Nayla, ever calm, replied, perhaps, but remember, they came when we asked. They could have ignored us. Instead, they chose to fight by our side. Do not mistake strength for tyranny. Still the doubt remained. The humans were allies for now. The Dominion's last gambit desperate, the Dominion prepared a trap. In the Vorak system, they gathered their largest fleet yet. Over 3,000 warships supported by fortified stations. The plan was simple: lure the humans into a decisive battle and crush them with overwhelming firepower. The Dominion commanders were confident. No matter how clever the humans were, numbers would decide the day. But Holt already knew their plan. Human intelligence networks, far sharper than anyone expected, had intercepted Dominion communications days earlier. On the bridge of the Resolute Dawn, Holt studied the star maps. His voice was calm as ever. They think we will walk into their trap. We will not. Instead, we will turn their trap against them. The trap turned when the humans entered Vorak. The Dominion fleet was ready. Thousands of ships waited, weapons primed, shields raised. The Dominion commander shouted, "At last! End them!" The stars lit up with fire as the Dominion unleashed their full power. Beams, torpedoes, and plasma waves filled the void. For a moment, it seemed as if the humans would be buried under sheer force. But then the Dominion's weapons went silent. Screens flickered, targeting systems shut down, engines stalled. In one sweeping move, human cyber warriors had crippled the enemy fleet, and then the humans struck back. Precision fire tore through the paralyzed ships. Drones slipped between enemy vessels, disabling what few systems still worked. Within an hour, half the Dominion fleet was destroyed. The rest fled in panic. The trap had become a massacre of the Dominion's own making. A galaxy changed. By the end of the 4th hour of humanity's war, the Dominion was collapsing. Worlds that had once bowed in fear now whispered of rebellion. Their fleets were broken, their supply lines shattered, their soldiers demoralized. The Union celebrated, though unease lingered in their hearts. They had asked for help and received salvation, but salvation so swift, so overwhelming, was difficult to understand. Admiral Holt stood once more at the center of his fleet. His officers reported victory after victory, but his expression remained steady. "Do not grow proud," he told them. "This war is not yet finished. The Dominion still clings to its throne, but when we strike there, it will end." The turning point. The galaxy now knew a truth it could no longer ignore. The humans were not a minor species. They were not latecomers or weaklings. They were a storm hidden in silence, a power waiting for the right moment. And now, unleashed, they were unstoppable. From the first strike at Rovek to the trap at Vorak, only 4 hours had passed. In that time, the balance of power had shifted forever. The Dominion's endless war, the conflict that had lasted for centuries, was breaking. And everyone knew the end was near. All that remained was the final blow. The galaxy had changed in only 4 hours. The Dominion, which had once ruled through terror, was now in retreat. Entire fleets lay scattered, shipyards burned, and their citizens whispered of fear instead of loyalty. The Union celebrated, though they could hardly believe what they saw. Humanity, the latecomers, had entered the war and destroyed in hours what others had fought against for centuries. But Admiral Holt knew the war was not truly over. The Dominion still lived. Its fleets were wounded, but its throne remained intact, and as long as the High Lord ruled, there would be no peace. The final blow had to be struck. The decision, on the flagship Resolute Dawn, Holt called his officers together. We have broken their fleets. We have destroyed their shipyards, but the heart of the beast still beats. The Dominion's capital remains untouched. If we do not strike now, they will rebuild. It may take years, but they will rise again. We cannot allow that. Commander Reyes, his second-in-command, frowned. Their capital is the most defended place in the galaxy. Every weapon, every fleet they have left will be there. If we go, it will be the hardest battle yet. Holt's voice was calm. Yes, but it will also be the last. The officers exchanged glances. They were tired, but they trusted him. Humanity had not come this far to stop short. The plan was set. The 5th hour of humanity's war would be the final one. The Union's fears news of the human plan spread quickly. On the Union capital, the council was divided. Councillor Tovarek spoke sharply. This is madness. To strike at the heart of the Dominion is suicide. Let them retreat, let them crumble on their own. Why should we risk everything now? Nayla of the Arath shook her head. If the humans say they can end it, we should trust them. We asked for their help. They have given more than we dreamed. General Sareth stood. His voice was steady, but his eyes were troubled. The truth is this, the humans can succeed. We have seen what they can do. The question is not whether they will win, but what they will do after victory. If they can destroy the Dominion, they can also rule in its place. The chamber fell silent. None wished to speak the fear aloud, but it was there. If humanity could end the greatest empire in the galaxy in 5 hours, what would stop them from taking the galaxy for themselves? But for now, all they could do was watch. The last fortress, the Dominion capital world, was called Dracos Prime, a planet wrapped in metal and fire. Towers of black steel rose into the clouds. Orbital fortresses ringed the skies. Entire fleets guarded its orbit. It was a world built to rule through fear. For centuries, no enemy had ever reached its gates. Now, the humans were coming. The High Lord stood in his war chamber, his armored frame casting a long shadow across the floor. Rage burned in his voice as he addressed his commanders. They think they can end us here? Let them try. We will drown them in fire. They will learn that the Dominion does not die. His generals roared in agreement, but deep inside, fear gnawed at them. They had seen what the humans could do. The march to Dracos. The human fleet gathered at the edge of Dominion space. Thousands of sleek ships floated in silence, their dark hulls reflecting the stars. To Union observers, they seemed like shadows made real, an armada of phantoms. On the bridge of the Resolute Dawn, Holt looked out at the stars. His crew waited for his word. This is it, he said quietly. The end of the war. No more running, no more hiding. Today we finish it, the order was given. The Black Armada jumped to Dracos. The final battle begins. The skies above Dracos erupted in fire. Dominion fleets surged forward, filling space with energy beams and plasma storms. Their stations rained destruction, and their dreadnoughts loomed like mountains of steel. But the humans did not flinch. Their ships moved with impossible precision, weaving through enemy fire. Swarms of drones poured forth, darting between Dominion vessels like schools of fish. Cyber attacks swept through enemy systems, shutting down weapons, engines, and shields. Every shot the humans fired found its mark. Every movement seemed predicted, calculated, unstoppable. The Dominion fought with rage. The humans fought with cold, flawless execution. Within 20 minutes, the outer defenses were gone. The High Lord's defiance on the surface of Dracos Prime. The High Lord watched the battle unfold on massive screens. His claws tore into the armrests of his throne. Impossible, he growled. They cannot be this strong. A trembling officer spoke. My lord, their fleet has broken the outer ring. They are advancing toward the planet itself. The High Lord rose, his voice a roar of fury. Then we fight them here. If Dracos falls, the Dominion falls with it. We will not surrender. The order was given. Every weapon on the planet was to fire, every soldier to take arms. If the humans wanted Dracos, they would have to burn through fire and blood. The descent human dropships entered the atmosphere, cutting through storms of plasma fire. Towers of black steel rose from the surface, each bristling with guns. But the humans had prepared. Orbital strikes shattered fortress after fortress. Drones tore apart gun emplacements. Special forces landed with precision, disabling shield generators that protected the capital city. Commander Reyes led one of the ground teams. Her boots struck the steel streets of Dracos as explosions echoed around her. "Keep moving," she shouted. We cut to the command center. "End this at the source." The streets of Dracos burned. Dominion soldiers fought with desperation, but they were no match. Human weapons cut through their armor, and their formations collapsed under relentless precision. For the first time in history, Dracos Prime was under siege. The throne room at last. Reyes and her team stormed the throne chamber. The High Lord stood waiting, his armor gleaming, his eyes burning with rage. "You dare set foot in my hall?" he roared. "I have ruled this galaxy for centuries."
"You are nothing."
Reyes leveled her weapon, her voice cold. "Your reign is over," the High Lord charged, his claws raised. But before he could strike, the chamber shook as the resolute Dawn unleashed a final precision strike from orbit. The walls crumbled, the throne shattered, and the High Lord was buried in fire and steel. The Dominion's heart was gone. Silence in the stars above Dracos, the Dominion fleet faltered. Without command, without leadership, they broke. Some surrendered, others fled, but none fought on. Across the galaxy, the news spread in moments. The High Lord is dead, the Dominion has fallen. Union worlds erupted in celebration. Bells rang, lights filled the skies, people wept with relief. The war that had defined their lives for centuries was over, and it had ended in just 5 hours. The question of power, yet even in victory, fear lingered. On the Union capital, counselors argued fiercely. "They have done it," Nayla said softly. "The war is over because of them." Tovarek's voice was sharp. "Yes, and now they stand as the strongest power in the galaxy. Do you not see? The Dominion is gone, and in its place stands Earth. Who will stop them if they decide to rule?" General Sareth frowned. "Perhaps they do not wish to rule. Perhaps they only wish to end the war." But the question remained. What would humanity do now that they held the power of gods? Humanity's choice on the Resolute Dawn. Admiral Holt addressed his fleet. "The Dominion is broken. The war is finished. The galaxy is free." He paused, letting the words sink in. "But we did not come here to conquer. We did not fight to build an empire. We fought to end one. Our duty is done." Cheers erupted from the crews. They had won, but they would not claim thrones or crowns. Humanity had shown its strength, but also its choice. Freedom, not domination. The message was sent to the Union. The humans would not rule. They would return home, leaving the galaxy to rebuild. A new dawn's the 5th hour ended. The galaxy stood in silence. The Dominion was no more. The Union, though shaken, survived. And humanity had revealed itself as a force unlike any other. In the end, the galaxy learned a lesson it would never forget. When humans finally joined the war, they won in just 5 hours.